Yes. Once again, it is time for Vetschatshow. Vetschatshow is a live and interactive weekly multi-platform broadcast for both veteran and non-veteran community. Each episode addresses issues and topics that impact current and former members of the United States Armed Forces and their families. We provide a positive outlet for veterans to discuss themes relevant to them, focusing on needs such as fitness, family, finance, education, entertainment, and empowerment. Vetschatshow gives veterans an opportunity to voice their concerns regarding issues impacting them. It also connects veterans to the community through monthly panels of experts and leaders. Using the latest in technology, including a mobile studio, Vetschatshow can broadcast live from various locations, virtually, anytime, and anywhere. We have a very special guest that is here in front of us. His name is Shon Huggins. Welcome to Vetschatshow.
Thank you for having me here.
Okay, great. Well, we're going to delve right into it and get a little bit of idea about who you are and your background. Tell us a little bit about your military experience.
Okay, actually it's Shon Huggins, and I joined in the Army National Guard around the age of 38, just after 9/11. That kind of inspired me. I was always fascinated with the military growing up, but I came from a single family home. My mom, divorced my dad at a young age, when I was young, at an early age in my in their marriage, and became single. She had 4 kids and put herself through college while she was raising us, and so she had a strong influence in my life, and during that time in the early 70s and 80s, there was still a lot of social issues with racism and stuff like that. So she didn't want us to be in any, her thing was, keeping it real, none of my kids are going to go in a white man's army. None of my kids are going to die in the military. And if you go in the military, don't come back home. So I never decided, I decided not to join. But I've always found myself, sometimes you take that solo walk where you just, just a daydream walk, and you want to just air out from life issues and the stress of life. I always find myself ending up at a recruiting station talking with the soldiers. And when 9/11 took place, I was at a certain age where I was old enough now. I had been married, divorced. I've had 2 children, and I was pretty much well established. I had my own business, and so I said, this is something I wanted to do. I was at a point in my life where finance wasn't success for me. It was about fulfilling self-dreams and goals and desires. So that was one thing I wanted to accomplish in my life, is to serve my country and be a soldier. And I decided to enlist, and I enlisted at the age of 38, which was a culture shock. Because, going in the military, I had this mindset, from Hamburger Hill and the platoon, that rough and tough training, and that it was a total different environment. And my peers and my superior officers were much younger than me. Mm-hmm. So I had to learn how to deal with people younger than me with less life experience, give me orders and telling me what to do, which was a very humbling experience. It's a great experience.
Well, it's good that you came in at an age that you were able to see certain things in life, and also, although you may not realize it, even those that may be leading you, you're also teaching them, because like you said, you're bringing a lot to the plate, and you're coming from a family background, and the beauty of that is it's never too late. So
yeah.
So I thank you. Actually, I came in as a relatively late bloomer when it came to that age bracket per se. Also, but I started off enlisted as well, so I could relate. And wow. I was in my 20s, and it was a challenge to put on the game face and go through all of those experiences when you get your aches and pains, as we do. And driving on, you're right, it is a humbling experience, but I have learned to be very humble, and all the better for it. So I thank you for your service and your motivation. That was really compelling. You came in after 9/11 as a result.
Yes.
and did some time with the Army National Guard or Army Reserves?
Army National Guard.
Okay. Okay, so that must have allowed you a lot of flexibility in your civilian career. Do you want to talk about that now?
Oh yeah, my civilian career. I had a business. I was CEO of a small boutique called Head Over Heels. We were located at 366 Myrtle Avenue in Brooklyn, Fort Greene, Brooklyn. We started out there and moved up to Harlem, 124th and St. Nicholas. It was a great experience. We sold high-end fashion shoes, predominantly for women, small selection for men, including accessories. But the privilege and the benefit and the beauty of it was that I was exposed to the fashion industry. We did a lot of external events. We allowed the store to be a platform for up-and-coming artists. We did fashion shows, Caribbean fashion shows. We did props for movie sets. We did props and worked along with HBO Rip the Runway that year. I don't remember the exact year, but that year Gabrielle Union and LL Cool J was the host of the show. Busta Rhymes performed. It was great. It was just, and a lot of other events, photo shoots, and get to meet a lot of extraordinary people. Unfortunately, though, the flip side is, upon me, because I joined the military and I served the military, it's very hard to, when you're overseas abroad, to manage a business. So therefore, I had to hire somebody else to hold my end of the deal, and that kind of didn't work out well. And during that year or that time when I served, which was in 2008 to 2009. The economy was dropping. So between poor management, from having someone external coming into the business, and the financial deficit of at that time, I pretty much lost the business upon coming home, which was another devastating blow for me in another circumstance that I had to deal with.
I can see that.
Back home.
I can see that's an issue, and I'm glad that you raised that also, because sometimes the general public doesn't understand, or people, or society, or students, or even teachers or educators don't understand that there's many branches to the armed forces, and there's many ways to be involved, whether it be active or a reservist or even a National Guard. And they are all citizen soldiers, folks, for those that don't know. Mm-hmm. They may be having any general 9 to 5, but when called to action, they can be mobilized to respond anywhere all over the world, not only in hurricanes or storms or inclement weather or things of that nature, but also 9/11, also overseas. And there's been so much happening in the world that our guest presents a very important part of our point, that he is a face of a business that needs him to be there, and he has big shoes to fill. So that definitely impacts his business, because as a small business, you're the face of the brand, and no one can really step in there and do things the way you did it, I would imagine, right?
Yes, exactly. And when I was deployed to Iraq, a lot of us don't, a lot of civilians don't really realize the sacrifices soldiers make, to be committed in the military and to serve. You really put your own life on hold, your personal life is on hold, and there's just drastic sacrifices that you gotta, there's choices you have to make, and in order to be that great soldier that's expected of you, you have to, sometimes you have to. How can I say? Not necessarily put things on the back burner, or put things aside, but you have to make that committed choice. That this is my priority. It's a life and death. We don't realize that the job, in the commercials they make it nice and pretty, but it's a life. It's a life and death situation. It's a job. That's
it is tough.
Very
and
critical.
On the building up in the positive side on that also is, I quite often say, and I'm not afraid to say, that families are also, and supporters are the unsung hero, because for many of us that are veterans, we can't get very much of anything done without the love and support of
Yes.
other people holding us down, because no man is an island, you see. So
Yeah.
there's somebody is always there to keep everything together, and usually they do so quietly and happily. And yes, so definitely thank them. But nonetheless, we still have issues, right?
Yeah, we do.
So we can talk about some of those. What are some of the issues that are impacting you? More in particular, we did talk a little bit about your small business, and that was admirable. You came back. You're back here now. You went away and you came back. Have you changed any? And are there any big issues that are impacting you that you'd like to talk about now?
Oh, definitely. There's been a great major change. I've grown. For one, I have to just thank just thank God for being in my life, because without God, and my God is Jesus Christ, and I just have to identify him for my personal, reasons. But he's been good to me. Upon coming back from Iraq, it's been very stressful. It was I lost everything serving my country, and I'm proud that I made the decision. Not I have no regrets whatsoever. I'm proud that I made that decision to serve and to protect freedom, here in the U.S. But there were a lot of prices to be paid. I lost my business. I came home. Excuse me. I came home and unfortunately I had got injured in Iraq, and I had to come back and have surgery at Walter Reed Hospital. I ruptured my EPL tendon in my left thumb and lost function of my hand. So I was my MOS is a 15 Tango. I was a crew chief on the UH-60 Blackhawks. And my job and responsibility was to maintain that aircraft and to go out on missions, taking packs to and from different various areas throughout Iraq, both in green zones and red zones. It's a very risky job, and so I was, when I lost functions of my hand because I ruptured my EPL tendon, I was forced to come back. I was stationed at Landstuhl, Germany for a minute. The med caught there, and then I had to come back to U.S. to have surgery at Walter Reed Hospital. Upon me coming back, I was then stationed at the med call in
that's local.
up
New
in
upstate side.
Upstate by
Stateside.
Yeah, stateside. At West Point. And I was good at West Point. It was good standards and everything. And my officer was like, Shon, being that your guardsman, why don't you just go home, and you just come back at your assigned appointments for checkups, and I said that'd be great. And at the time, I had a fiance, so I came home that day. I didn't. She thought I was going to be staying stateside. I thought I was going to be staying at West Point until my annual term was up. My deployment term was up. My tour was up, and I was surprised. I came home that day, and unfortunately, I wasn't happy with what I seen. Somebody else had replaced my position at home, for lack of better words. Therefore, I became homeless because my fiance was not faithful to me, while I was serving and doing my time. So it put me in a homeless position. Upon becoming homeless and experiencing such great disappointment, I developed an addiction of alcoholism. To medicate a lot of the pain. I already was going through a lot of stress coming back from Iraq because I just I had experience being in firefight with or being shot at several times in the air, and that kind of made me a little uneasy, and I had many sleepless nights due to that event and experience, and so there's a lot of social issues. There's a lot of things that I had to deal with, and losing a business, which was my sole employment, my life, my job, everything that I worked for, everything that I've sacrificed for, losing my family that I've invested in. She had 2 kids. They weren't my kids, but I loved them as my kids. Losing that, and then the third thing, which was a domino effect, my brother, who was the president of the business, who was my partner and my only brother, had gotten into an accident and passed away. So there was a lot of factors that was hitting me at once.
Whole bunch of dominoes.
Yeah,
you can see, and all of them must have an amazing combined effect. Has this basically moved you to seek help, and what did you do to try to deal with the situation? I mentioned drinking. And
first the anger kicks in, and you go through these emotional turmoils and these roller coaster rides, and these and then you try to take control of it, and you end up trying to deal with it and cope with it yourself. I became heavy in drinking, like I said, was my coping mechanism, but it wasn't a healthy coping mechanism. And I was just, for one, I became very bitter. I ended up finding myself flat on my back. And that's when, I just pretty much gave my heart back to God, and I just, I had to surrender. I had to surrender to something, because I find myself losing myself. And all that I've been trained as a military and as a soldier, I felt that I wasn't living up to those codes and those standards, because of my circumstances and conditions, and my helplessness to have control over it. The soldier is trained to be controlled and disciplined under stressful environments and circumstances, because it's a life and death occupation, and you have to have a cool, level-headed mind and to be able to, produce, and function under those environments. But coming home with such big upsets and letdowns, and I didn't have my unit to go back to unit support. They were serving in Iraq.
I understood.
I was here alone. So it's like, what do I do? And so I poured out. God was able to help me go through it. I thank God for that, because I was able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I see life in a whole different perspective now.
Did you have to go through anything specific in order to see that light? Because quite often you have to really, literally hit rock bottom before you see that light, as many people tell that kind of story. Was it only one thing, drinking, or were there other? Did it get more involved before you made that epiphany?
Well, yeah, there was other activities. You become more promiscuous. There's other. There's just the whole mindset. And the whole environment. I kind of found myself rolling and hang out with friends that I normally wouldn't hang out with. For lack of better words, the rough riders. Of society. You're in in the nightclubs and night bars, and those people, you don't have the average good citizen, frequenting those environments, but because I needed to medicate the pain that I was going through, and no one could really understand, no civilian could really understand what I was going through. I just found myself in these dark areas, in these dark environments, around people that I normally wouldn't be involved with, or, I didn't like who I was at the time. I didn't like where I was going. Having a business, being around productive people because of the business and the type of business I was in, positive influence and productive and disciplined people because I was in the military serving. I find myself having a double life, and I had to get myself back in order. So I spoke to some superiors about it, and it was at a point in time where I decided, what am I going to do? I'm homeless now,
Okay. So what kind of programs can help you deal with this topic that's our guest right here, Shon, is talking with us here on Vets Chat Show, just in case you're tuning in. And he's a veteran, Army, National Guard, and he has now come to a point where he's discussing the issue of homelessness and how this has happened, although he serves. So we'll talk about homelessness or persons without homes. I'm not sure if how it's categorized now, but you found yourself in a situation. What kind of programs are out there that can be helpful to our listeners?
Yeah. There's a program called HUDVASH. It's an acronym. I don't know the full title, but it's for homeless services. I believe it's homeless services for veterans. HUDVASH, something like that. And it's an opportunity where you can get a Section 8. Now in the city, no longer they have Section 8s, I think, available for civilians or general population, but they do have. And this has been a program that's been instituted, I think, in the early 80s, but it was never really utilized. And since Obama came in, into office, he's very proactive for soldiers, and he's been really in pushing policies to help veterans come back.
As well as our First Lady.
As well as she's a sweetheart. Yes, for sure. So it was great to be a part of this new program where I can regain a sense of stability by having a place to reside, a place of my own. I had to go through a process, though. I went to the VA.
What do you need in order to qualify? What is that process?
Okay, pretty much you just have to be homeless. You have to show proof that you're homeless. You have to first enroll into the what do you call it? The city system is
okay. You have to register for some. How do you prove that you're homeless? How can that be proven if that's something that they ask you to do?
Well, they'll do a screen. You go. I went to the VA. They screened me. Asked me, where was I sleeping at. The way it works out now is that if you have some place to live, you could be living on your mother's couch. You're considered not homeless. I
see.
So you had to show proof. I was sleeping on park benches at sometimes, or I was, eventually when I came back, I had to sleep in the basement, my grandmother's basement behind her boiler. She has a small room there. I was there for a period of time, but then I had to go to 23rd Street, Bellevue Hospital, and check into the homeless shelter over there, and get an HMO number. Is it HMO? What is it called? HRA number. That's what HRA number, and that HRA number, it's like your Social Security number within the system. And it states that you're homeless. You have to be homeless. I had to stay there for probably about 2 weeks to show proof that I was actually homeless, didn't have a place to go. And from there, I was transferred to a veterans shelter in Borden Avenue, Long Island City, Queens, which was a very excellent shelter. The problem with coming into the homeless system is that, me from a soldier's mindset, and you get caught up in general population with people who from all walks of life, and get entangled to all social environments because you're living in that environment, not necessarily that you're engaging in it, but you're entangled because that is your environment that you're living in. That's your community now. Mm-hmm. So what they try to do is HRA tries to separate, and distinguish you from...
Sorry about that.
Sorry. From being homeless, from being a veteran, or just general population. And
now, could you come in by yourself, or do they also take families? Is that they're separated out of that population?
Oh, they also take families as well, but I can't really speak more on families because I've never. I know there's homeless shelters for families. I don't know if veterans. The problem with the veterans program is that I know that they have for women who have children that are veterans. They have it for them. I don't know of any program that has that'll take a whole family for veterans. Usually, the male would have to become, if the whole family is homeless, the male himself would have to go through this system alone, and he gets the voucher and then can bring his family on board afterwards once he gets his Section 8 voucher, which takes about a total of 8 months. So you're living in a homeless shelter for about 8 months until this voucher is until you get until your number comes up.
Okay, and when your number comes up, then what happens?
When your number comes up, you get a NYCHA, New York City Housing Authority Section 8 voucher. That's affiliated with the VA. It's a partnership between the VA and NYCHA. And then you have about 30 days to look for an apartment.
Okay, so you could use this voucher to basically help empower you. Now, if you have any other services that involves the social workers or case managers, or do they put together a team for you?
And that's the great thing they do. The VA has been very helpful to me because they do put together a team for you. They address your social issues, whether you have you may have a substance abuse issue. You may have PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome, disorder. You may have a level of depression. Whatever your issue is, your mental issue is, or your social cycle issue is, they develop a team to try to help you along with that and help monitor you through therapy and help of healing or therapy.
So that's all happening in there, or do you have to go in and out for some of that program?
You would have to go in and out. I mean, it's a great It's a great program because at the shelter, they have transport buses that come to and from.
Oh, okay.
That can take you to your designated appointments. They have a counselor, a caseworker who monitors you, who stays in tune with you, who communicates with you to make sure that you're coming along as far as mental health healing, and that you are meeting all your designated appointments to move to transitioning from being homeless to actually having a home. So they hold your hand pretty much along the way, and even when you get your apartment, you're scheduled to see them once a month. And you're also scheduled to take, and this is for every veteran, whether you have an addiction or mental health issues or not, because there's a lot of veterans who never had these issues, but they just became, just because of hardship of life, they lost their place. They're still obligated to take some type of give a urine sample once a month, just to show that you're stable and you're moving forward, and you have no other issues.
What if while you're at the program, do they also help you with now that you got a roof over your head and progressing or in the program to jobs? Do they help you get ready to re-enter the job market, to help you become a little bit more self-sufficient also?
They do, but before I speak to you about that,
Sure.
I also want to say one of the great things about being in the veteran shelter also is that they also try to help you. Like if you had, we already know that you're going through stress issues, so they try to minimize as much stress issues in your life so that you can just focus on healing and rebuilding your life. So if you had, outstanding child support, depending upon your child support, some people have child support who families were on welfare, so you have to pay to the city. Some people you have to pay to the individual who, but they'll try to lower you. They get your child support lowered. Because you're outstanding child support and you lose your driver's license, to help you get back your driver's license. It's a lot of things in a lot of areas that they do help you so that you can be whole and stable and how do I want to say it?
Get regained back into the flow of society. Yep.
Society.
Give you good inroads and get you back going into the flow of society. So since you've had that experience of your situation, how has that impacted your perception of a person that you might be walking down the street and you see he or she is homeless?
Well, this is
Can you
New York
inspire
City.
them?
This
There's
is New
a
York
lot of
City.
them.
There's a lot of them. I feel homelessness is a state of mind. In the sense that this is New York City, and this is any big metropolis. You have people who, for whatever reason, they just want to be homeless. But I know, because I've been through the loops, and the poodle loops and the whole ins and outs. There's help out there.
That's right.
No one should have to be hungry. No one, this is America. We are full of spoil. We've I don't want to speak negative, but we have abundance that overflows, and so I speak to I use discernment. Being in that environment, you develop an eye or a level of discernment where you see people coming. You know them. You've seen these characters before, so you kind of get a general. Who really wants to get help. Who's just using their homelessness situation as an opportunity to monopolize on people who are sincere and who are generous and innocent. And this is just about self-gain for that moment. It's not really about really helping their situation. It's about just manipulation. It's just, so it's up to the individual. I've always because of what I've been through, I've learned to be a humble man. So I'm very positive of the system. I've seen the system. The system does work if you utilize it. If you utilize the resources that are there for you. It can be a pain in the butt sometimes. It can be very inconveniencing sometimes. It can be very discouraging sometimes. But the hula hoops that you go through is only the spot check to make sure the system is somewhat running,
right?
Doing what they're supposed to do. So it's up to the individual. I've seen a lot of people who don't want to get help.
Yes, and there may be.
I've seen a lot of people who do want to get help, but I know it's out there. If you and they're there to help you, and you can get all the help that you need. You just have to follow the breadcrumbs.
Yes, I definitely like also what you said in terms of the mindset or the attitude or the homelessness, and that's empowering also, because just as life is not where you are, it's not who you are.
Yeah.
And the circumstances that you presented. For those tuning into Vets Chat Show, it is very hard for some people to imagine veteran homelessness or people that have actually served the country to find themselves homeless or without a home or in need themselves. And the reality is that there are still many people that are even working 9 to 5 or nearly a paycheck away from joining, from being on there. So I would never look down on anybody of anything. I try to lend a hand and be encouraging, because life can lead you in places where you never expected to be. As I'm sure you.
That's right.
I'm sure you say. I don't think any of those people, or even yourself, would say, well, at this point in time in my life, I'm going to be in that situation. But you know what? You learned something through that, in all that situation. What have you learned?
Well, I've learned to take one day at a time and appreciate every moment of the day, good or bad. Sometimes bad is not necessarily bad. Sometimes, you got to get that upset to realize where you're at, to give you that extra drive to push further and, you know, to dig in deep. You know, sometimes that you got to get those 2 steps backwards so you can get 4 steps forward, you know, at the moment to assess yourself and your situation, you know. Me, you know, having my own business, moving forward, you know, there's a level of pride, there's a level of self-confidence. Sometimes, you know, if it's not utilized or, you know, you lose focus, it becomes arrogance, you know, it becomes, you know, you get too high on your horse. God sometimes has to knock you down and keep you in tune and keep you on the even keel. Listen, you know, it's not about, you know, where you at. You know, it's not about, it's who you are where you stand right now. You know, we're all human beings. We're all people. You know, I've learned to appreciate people for who they are, people, you know, not for what you got, you know, what you're wearing or, you know, how you're looking or, you know, how you speak. You know, or how, you know, people are people, you know, people have hearts, people have dreams, people have feelings, have emotions, you know, going through all these mixed emotions make me more alive than ever because, you know, I can talk about it today, you know, I can cry without being ashamed, I can endure the hardship, I've been through it, you know, when I first joined the military, you know, going through the obstacle courses, 15-mile rucks, you know, at an older age, with young kids and different temperaments. At one point, I was like, man, what am I doing here? Can I really do this? And pushed me through limits that I thought I could never go through. You know, pushed me. I seen that I can do more. And during the hardships now that I've endured upon coming back, though I didn't like it, though I have, you know, my own murmuring complaints, I'm grateful because I was able to endure. It built character in me. You know, these values that I've accomplished, the great things that the great friends that I've met, you know, the dark times that I've endured, I can help somebody along. I can pass these experiences. I've lived these experiences that my kids don't have to live now because I can consult them. I can hold their hand through it. I can express them. You know, I can identify, I can pinpoint, I can see, I can point out before they even go through it and tell them, hey, that branch is too low. You got to duck a little lower. Or that, you know, those steps is too high. You got to, you know, stretch, you know, that hurdle's you got to jump a little harder, you know, but you can get over it because I've been through it, you know. So it's a blessing because I can now, and I am now empowered to help somebody else through their struggles, you know. And that's how I see it, you know. God allowed me to, it's my time to pay it forward. Because I could have been over in Iraq, you know, and caught that bullet that whizzed by me when I was flying over, you know, or going through a convoy or, you know, coming from, you know, one place to another, you know, met an explosion. You know, I didn't have to make it back here with just a broken, you know, EPL tendon, you know.
But the harder thing takes quite a while to heal is not the body, but the mind and the spirit.
The mind and the soul. That's
right. So if you can endure that and build yourself up, you can do anything. And we learn so much through those, like you said, dark times, and find friends, make new friends, and that's how we really know who's there with us during those times too.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny because now all my friends are all ex-military of some sort. But they've all have a story of you know, of endurance.
Right.
You know.
And I'm glad that you're sharing them. And so I'm really, man. Exactly, all winners, everyone, every single one of them, because I don't know a veteran without a story. And it's such a positive and amazing story. And I know that there are many, many, many more veterans out there that are even want to be a guest here. This is the opportunity to tell your story. You know, I'm happy to have this outlet for our guests to be able to paint a picture, tell a story, because not all of them get a chance to tell a story, and unfortunately not all of them are heard. So it's therapeutic. There's something therapeutic about it. And I really love what I do in doing this, because I learn and I make friends as well. You see, you get it. So it's
yeah. And I thank God you have this platform here. You know,
well, it's ours. It's really our vehicles. You know, and we learn all of these things and connect with resources. And you know, you shared some programs. If you have any more, you're more than free to share your experience of them. And also, if you have some constructive criticisms, or maybe things that you think that can be improved, I'm sure that there's people out there that are listening or would want to know, because you've went through that. I haven't walked that walk. You've walked that walk, but I'm learning. So if there's a program in place such as this, is there anything that you think could have been helpful or more helpful for others?
It's so much, man. Excuse me. It's just so much that I feel that can be done differently. And I try to, you know, I'm just looking at it from my experience, but then I try to look at the other side from, you know, the military's personnel and the programs that they have to try to help soldiers along the way. Sometimes I feel that it's a little misguided, but it's kind of hard to, you know, when you have a program to deal with someone individually and just address them individually. When you have, you know, the military has thousands of soldiers, you know, you can't just, and everybody has a unique individual issue. So they kind of generalize and just, you know, have programs out there and services out there to help you along the way. It may not be always, you know what I've learned? It's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, help is there. You know, it's just like an aspirin. You know, an aspirin is there to help you. You know, it's a blood thinner. It can, you know, knock a headache out. But it's up to you to how you use your medicine and your therapy. It's up to you how do you use it to deal with your symptoms and your problems. You know, the VA, it's great. When I first got here at the VA, you know, I mean, I had an issue dealing with civilians. You know, the military loves to hire civilians. You know, one of my biggest issue was, you know, even when I was at Borden, case managers there, they're all civilians. And my biggest issue is that civilians are not soldiers. And they're not sensitive or, you know, to what we go through as soldiers. The mindset that we have to, you know, embrace, the attitudes, you know, all that we have to put on so that we can be able to wear this uniform with pride and dignity. You know, people don't really realize what we have to take on, what we have to take off, you know, and how we have to lose ourselves to be conformed to this, you know, this instrument of you know, this instrument that's used by the government. They don't really understand it, and they will never understand because they're not walking our shoes. So that's one of the biggest things issues I have, that there'll be more programs to have civilians who are out there to aid and assist us to be more soldier sensitive, you know, so that we can get along. There could be a better synergy between civilian and, you know, military.
I could see that as one area specifically within mental health, or trying to even come to the first step. And there's still many soldiers that go back to Vietnam and beyond that have never talked or told the story, or may have tried. But it's part of the healing process to be able to talk about it and listen to no matter what. So it is a good thing to do that. However, when you were talking about the civilian and the way that they may react, it's difficult because as a soldier, sometimes, you know, you've been through some situations, and like I said, whether they tell it or not, every soldier has a story. I'm gonna tell you that right now. And sometimes those, you know, that expression, "still waters run deep." I've heard some guys from Vietnam and even, you know, beyond that, they may not say a word, but you can see that they're holding something in. And when you talk to civilians sometimes and you want to tell your story, maybe it's for the first time, and then you get that reaction like, oh my God, you can't talk to me about that. Why don't you talk to me about something else? That's such a first step. So as when you started talking about the civilian experience, I just want to share that with the audience, because this is a veteran and non-veteran audience. Some of the things that could be helpful, thank them for the service, that's cool too, but also listen and let them tell the story. And if they're doing that, that's a good thing, as odd as it might seem or as painful as it might be. And what it comes to, how was your experience when you had an opportunity to open up and speak to another veteran or a civilian?
Well, even when I first came home, and I couldn't talk to my parents, my mom, my dad sees my mom, and I say parents, my grandmother, because she had a very strong influence in my life too. My sisters, they just could not identify. They could not understand, Shon, why are you acting this way? What's really bothering you? They, when you, it just wasn't a reality to them. It was, to them, it was, they could only associate it as a picture on the story, or on the tubes. And that's Hollywood,
what they see in the movies or TV.
Yeah, that's not real. When they in their minds, that's all, just movies. But it was, the beautiful thing, and like I said, unfortunately, I had to go through the homelessness. But I think the good thing that happened, and I know that the program, the system is not designed this way, but it just works out. My best friend I met, he's ex-Navy. I met in Borden Avenue. This guy I can share anything with. I can be totally transparent, and it's just nothing but love, reciprocating love. Guy used to work for J.P. Morgan's. Hardship, became homeless.
Circumstances
in life,
and that doesn't take away from your character or change who you are as a person. If anything, it could make you that much stronger.
Exactly. That's the beauty about it. I've met lifelong friends during this hardship that I've endured coming home. I was bitter with the government at one point, or with the city, because I was like, why should I have to go through this? There should be an automatic, get out of pass, get out of jail free pass, or, go straight to, golf, or free pass. Why do I have to go through and sit in these little programs with these, these people who have not been through what I've gone through, and who are just taking, and this is how you feel as a soldier sometimes, who've been overseas, who've seen hardships, who've seen different cultures, who've seen, life from a different perspective. You've seen people who have less than nothing, but they're providing, and they have a sense of family and unity. And when you come here, in the big cities, sometimes, we just don't have that natural hospitality anymore, here in the city, or that natural. I'm not saying we all do. It's not for everybody. I'm just saying, generally speaking, how it's a big metropolis, and it's like, why do I have to sit here with these people? They didn't go through what I went through, They didn't shed the blood that I've shed, They weren't. I wouldn't say they weren't brave enough, but they didn't take the stand that I've taken to defend and put my life on the line and sacrifice and drop all that I have to go overseas, to make this place better. Why do I have to go through these trials and tribulations? Why do I have to go through these circus rings, just to get a little sense of stability? And there's a level of frustration that it's just normal that any soldier would have to go through. I hear it every day as I was going through this journey that I had to go through. Why? It's not fair, And it's true, because there's a lot of grants out there that's in favor for us, but there's also a lot of organizations out there who exploit us. Because it's about funding and money, and it's just the reality, and it's the nature of the game, and they exploit us. I know some of these regulations that we have to go through is just to make sure the business is file proof, but I also know that it's also used to exploit us, but then also there's a good side. I'm going to school free right now. I'm a disabled vet. I thank God for the VA system, and I thank God for, if it wasn't for them, I thank God for the brothers. And I want to say, welcome home to the Vietnam brothers. I thank God for them, because if, their hardship and what they've endured has paved the way for me to have the benefits that I have today. If it wasn't for them, as a soldier for me today, I would be lost.
That's right.
Because I'm going to school now, working on getting my social work license, and all expenses paid in full. And I thank God for that, Even though I've lost a lot, there's an opportunity for me to gain a lot now too, and back then maybe I wouldn't have taken it as serious and appreciate to where I appreciate it now. So I'm very grateful, I'm very humble, and I thank God in all aspects. I thank God for serving in the military. I thank God for those who are out there who are really advocates for the soldiers, who are really, even civilians I met a lot of civilians who come from a family of soldiers. Their history is just everybody, they've served. Or they just realize through their own life experiences the real hardship that we've endured and the true sacrifices that we've made, for our country. And they really give that love, maybe a kind word, and maybe that extra time to write a form out for you. Maybe, come, let me write this form. I know you can write the form, but let me help you, and I'll write it for you.
That's
You
right.
sit back. It's those small little things that makes it sweet and makes it all worthwhile.
It's definitely helpful to have people are supporting you. Connecting the dots is what I say.
Yeah.
Because you've mentioned before, even if it's a pill or medicine, whatever it might be, and it's there and these resources are out there, two things occur. I'm explaining this also for our audience's purposes to understand. Two things happen. They do have because some people say, hey, there's a whole bunch of programs out there. There are, and it could be a point of overwhelming information. And as Shon mentioned, some programs may not be serving as well as they say that they're serving publicly, or everything looks great when it's on a website or a piece of paper. But how many of them are actually touching and making the difference of the lives of veterans? That's one piece of it. And also the mental aspect of the pill could be there, the information can be there for you. Not only can't you understand it, but you may not have the energy to reach it or reach out. It could be right in front of your face, the answer staring you.
Yeah.
But every now and then you need somebody to just grab your hand or take you by the hand. I walk with people because it's been done for me.
Yeah.
So if I got to put on the boots and meet somebody else, I'm not too proud, whatever it might be, to help connect the dots, because at times, hey, I need it too, and I needed it, and I still do need it at times. So I'm glad that you mentioned that there are things out there, but people wonder how come they're not using it. The mental parts can paralyze you at times, and also the emotions. With all the emotions happening, it could be overwhelming too, and anxiety, or built up energy that you might have. So I'm kind of filling in some from the other side, some of the other parts, and you can tune in on your experiences as well. But I listen to a lot of people, I hear them, and I want people to feel as important, as empowered in knowing a lot about this topic of how veterans become homeless, because I prayed myself there should be no such thing.
It should,
because it's really fighting a war on two fronts if that's not enough. What would you say on any of those extra points?
I totally agree with you. I'm glad you expressed that. I'm still going through my healing process right now, and I've been back since it's been 3-4 years, 2009. It's early 2013. It's been 3 years, but I'm still healing. And my mind is still warped in a lot of areas. And sometimes I can't even express myself the way, because like you said, there's a lot of anxiety and my emotions that are just involved. So I'm glad that you're here to express them. Sorry, audience. It's just
I'm a work in progress too. I make no qualms about it. That's part of my thing, is connecting and putting it out there too.
But it's up to you to make the difference. And I realized you just have to be true to yourself. You have to really be transparent. The help is out there. It may not be the help that you feel you need or you feel you should deserve, but there's something out there that we can cling on to, a life preserve of some sort that's designed for us to get some sense of gratitude and restitution or rehabilitation or, refreshing or renewing in life, and I'm taking that walk in that journey now. Like I said, this is, I'm 40, I'll be 45 in April, so I'm at my mid stage, and thank God I have an opportunity through the VA, and that I can start afresh and anew. I'm embarking on a new journey of new education, and I'm not going to stop. I'm determined not to stop until I get a PhD. I'm gonna go as far as that's the goal. You always got to set the goal high. But I've lost a lot, but now this is an opportunity for me to gain a lot. So I'm very excited about it, and I'm motivated about it. I'm looking forward to move on. I thank God for this country. God bless America. I thank God for our President Obama, and his wife, Michelle Obama, and all that they stand for. I thank God for you, Miss Love, for what you stand for and what you're doing. It's what's needed. Voices need to be heard, and I thank you for this opportunity to get a sense of, I like to call it shouting from the mountaintop, because this is, right now, this is a little mountain that I'm standing on. There's so much that I've kept inside that I've had to do, and there's so much that I want to say, that I can say, because I'm still healing and going through it. But I can speak now. At one point when I first came home, I couldn't speak. I remember, they had to give me, what's the pill? The little pill to help you go to sleep again.
There's some different ones for sleeping, but
the little sleeping
I know the names of some. Some of them begin with a T.
I can't remember it. It's a little red pill. It's not Volume or Prozac, but it's I can't recall. But I remember when I had to come home, I had to go to sleep. Sometimes I have a lot of short-term memory. I can't think.
Yes.
Coming back from Iraq, that's one thing I've noticed.
Well, sleep impacts that too. So one thing is sleep and the anxiety and just getting back to what is the new normal. And in your circumstances, my Lord, you've been through a lot, but I commend you because it hasn't stopped you as a person moving forward and realigning your goals and where you want to be, whether it be to continue on with your business or start a new business or maybe do something in social work or continue to do that because that seems to be your calling.
Yeah, I guess. Hopefully I
can help a lot of people.
But I definitely would love to give back to my veterans, and that's where I'm at now. It's all about people, man, humanity right now. It's not about self-gain and, it's about extending yourself forward.
Well, we're running short, and you've been a great guest, so I thank you for being a guest here. In the remaining minute before we close, would you like to add anything else?
I like to add, just keep the faith, keep your head up. If you got to stagger forward, it's better staggering forward, than standing and running backwards. Just stand and there's help out there. Don't hold it in. Don't be afraid to hold, to tell it to somebody. Find another veteran. They understand. They've been there. And, as they say in the military, leave no fallen comrade in the Army, and that's what it's about, helping one along the way.
That's right. So those are some last words of our guest, Shon, and we thank him for being a guest here on Vets Chat Show. We would also like to thank our staff, our family, our listeners, and everyone else that has made today so special and informative. Lehman College, as well as we're broadcasting here right now. And that's all the time that we have for today. So we'll see you next week, same time on Vets Chat Show here on the Bronx Journal Radio. Thank you.
And now a minute dedicated to veterans across America, sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase. Here's Wes Poriotis.
It is often noted that while war is hell, a return to the civilian world should not be. Thousands of young veterans are struggling to readjust to civilian life and wrestling with depression, homelessness, and even suicide. An additional cause of psychic stress is economic stress. One female Army sergeant committed suicide, believing that her family could use the life insurance proceeds. This is not an isolated incident. A veteran commits suicide every 80 minutes. Veterans across America cannot solve all of the problems leading to the tragedy of veteran suicides, but we do have a civilian career mentoring program that works. Why not serve as a business mentor? You could provide a critical network and economic lifeline for a veteran. This is a meaningful way to give back. To learn more, visit veteransacrossamerica.org. That's veteransacrossamerica.org. This is Wes Poriotis for Veterans Across America. Thank you.